Okay, so picture this, a river that's twice the length of the Nile. Now imagine it flowing right through the heart of one of the driest places on Earth. This isn't some kind of science fiction movie plot. This is a real, audacious plan that's unfolding right now in Saudi Arabia. And it's a project so ambitious it seems to defy nature itself. You know, when we think of Saudi Arabia, we usually picture that immense oil wealth, right? We think of golden palaces and these futuristic cities that just seem to rise straight out of the sand. But the kingdom is now pouring that wealth into one of the most incredible engineering projects in human history, a massive underground network of water pipes that is, get this, twice the length of the legendary Nile River. And that, right there, raises the big, obvious question. How is this even possible? I mean, for a country that is almost entirely scorching hot desert, with absolutely no natural rivers to speak of, where on earth is this biblical amount of water supposed to be coming from? All right, let's dive in and figure this out. So, first things first. To really understand the solution they've come up with, you have to grasp the sheer scale of the problem they're facing. Saudi Arabia is the largest country on the entire planet without a single permanent natural river. Not one. Let me put some of these numbers into perspective for you. Nearly the whole country, 98% of it, is desert. Their capital city, Riyadh, gets less rain in an entire year than London gets in a single month. And since 1950, the population has just exploded. It's grown almost tenfold. That puts an absolutely unbearable strain on this super scarce resource. The analogy I heard is just perfect. It's like being a kingdom with a palace made of solid gold, but you've only got 2 sips of water to drink. For a long time, the kingdom did have a kind of secret weapon, hidden deep, deep underground. These massive aquifers filled with what's called fossil water, water that's been trapped down there for thousands, even millions of years. But here's the thing. A really well-intentioned plan back in the 70s to become self-sufficient in food actually led to a near disaster. To grow their own wheat, they just started pumping this ancient water like there was no tomorrow. And by 2016, NASA satellites revealed this terrifying truth. They were draining this irreplaceable resource at a rate of 2 trillion liters every single year. And here's the really critical part of that story. By the early 2000s, a staggering 85% of that precious, ancient, irreplaceable water wasn't even going to cities or homes. Nope, it was being poured directly onto desert sand, all for agriculture. So they hit this crucial realization. They were rapidly draining their one and only natural water reserve. This fossil water was a finite resource. It was exactly like using a battery that, once it's dead, can never, ever be recharged. And that understanding forced a really dramatic change in their whole strategy. So, facing a total catastrophe, the kingdom pivoted to a solution that is just almost unbelievable in its scale. They figured, hey, if nature won't give us a river, we'll just build one ourselves. And they decided to build the whole thing underground. And when I say scale, I mean it. We are talking about a network of pipes stretching 12,000 kilometers. Just to put that in perspective for you, that's not just twice the length of the Nile. That's like traveling from New York all the way to Sydney. It's just incredible. And the volume of water is just as mind-bending. Every single day, this system moves 9.4 million cubic meters of fresh water. Okay, what does that mean? That is enough water to fill nearly 4,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Every single day. You know, the real genius here is in the design. The entire river is hidden underground, totally safe from that brutal desert sun that would just cause massive amounts of it to evaporate. It's this colossal, hidden plumbing system basically built to outsmart the very climate that makes it so necessary. Okay, so if they can't use that fossil water anymore, where is all this new water coming from? Well, the answer is literally all around them. It's in the sea. The real challenge, of course, is making all that salt water drinkable. So they do this with something called desalination at 28 massive plants along the coast. And there are too many ways they do it. The first, multi-stage distillation, is pretty much what it sounds like, a giant, super sophisticated process of boiling seawater and then collecting the fresh steam. The second method, reverse osmosis, is more modern and way more energy efficient. It uses incredible pressure to force seawater through a membrane so fine that salt, minerals, even viruses, they just can't get through. And the result of all this? It's been a profound shift in the country's entire water system. Today, two-thirds, that's 66% of all the fresh water used in Saudi Arabia actually starts as salt water in the sea. Desalination isn't just a backup plan anymore. It has literally become the lifeblood of the entire nation. Now, creating fresh water on this industrial scale is without a doubt a true marvel of modern engineering. But here's the catch. Solving one huge problem has unfortunately created another really significant one. It's a pretty simple question, but it has a very complicated answer. When you take all the salt out of billions and billions of liters of seawater every day, what exactly do you do with all that leftover salt? Well, the byproduct of this modern miracle is an almost unimaginable amount of waste every single day. 329,000 tons. And this isn't just plain old salt, It's a toxic, super concentrated sludge called brine. And that colossal number, that's not a yearly total. That's how much they produce every single day. To make that number feel real, just try to imagine the weight of 1,600 blue whales. That is the equivalent amount of waste being pumped back into the sea daily. This brine, it raises the water's temperature, it makes it way saltier, and it creates these dead zones that just choke out precious marine life, like coral reefs. But, the story doesn't just end there. The same way they innovated to create fresh water in the first place, Saudi Arabia is now trying to innovate its way out of the environmental crisis that this solution has caused. And the vision is nothing short of ambitious. They want to be 100% water independent through desalination by 2030. Now, this comes at a huge energy cost. The pumps already use up 9% of the nation's entire electricity supply. But the innovation continues. They're now exploring something called brine mining, which is this fascinating process of actually extracting valuable minerals like lithium and magnesium right from the toxic waste, essentially turning a liability into a resource. And this kind of leadership is getting global recognition, which is a big reason why they're set to host the World Water Forum in 2027. All of this leaves us with a really powerful final thought. The artificial river in Saudi Arabia is a stunning testament to what humanity can achieve when we put our minds to it. But it also forces us to ask a really critical question. As we use technology to solve these fundamental challenges of nature, are we truly conquering them, or are we just changing their form and leaving a new kind of problem for the next generation to solve?